Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure. If you don't say we have some more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rate as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was alive. The president never gave me any deadline.
Global Morning on Global Television. My name is Anthony Momodu. Welcome you to today's edition. Today, obviously Friday, and it's thank God it's Friday. The weekend is so upon us, and we're glad to be alive. As we say, big thank you to Roy, the man upstairs, for keeping every one of us alive and hale and hearty, like they say, and we are ready to ensure that your day is truly beautiful. As someone who's seated glamorously by my side, also ready and geared to ensure that your day is truly amazing. Good morning, Jimmy Manson.
Good morning, Anthony Momodu. How are you doing today?
Doing great.
It's a TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. It's a beautiful day, a time to relax, and a time to just hear what the headlines are saying. Hope we won't break our heart when we hear issues that are making rounds and all of that. But it's great to be here. I am Jimmy Manson to grace your speech this beautiful Friday morning.
All right, we've got some very interesting issues popping out from Nigeria, as usual, always very dramatic, but this has to do with electricity supply. We're talking about power, where the TCN, Transmission Company of Nigeria, did inform Nigerians that the blackout noticing some parts of the Federal Capital Territory was caused by the vandalization of some part of the conductors in the Shiroro Katampe transmission line, where it said that on Wednesday some unscrupulous elements went there to steal the conductors in towers 216 and tower 217, making it impossible for some parts of the FCT to have power supply. And though they're working on it, but it's very disturbing that lately it seems to be the cash cow of very criminal elements in the country, where they keep vandalizing the power stations, the conductors, the transmission lines. And the big question is, how come suddenly it becomes attractive, and does it mean there's no surveillance as a way to monitor the safety of these equipment, especially knowing that NiCOSat was basically fixed up there in the skies to ensure that security of national assets and other details can be gotten using the NiCOSat services. So very disturbing, and we're hoping more can be done to, quell this new trend of conductors and the transmission system, national grid always collapsing. And I know someone who loves electricity a lot. She needs lights to come out beautiful. Are you getting worried they're trying to kill kids with beauty stuff?
When it comes to electricity, it's everyone's business, and of course it's becoming an issue. Some of the news making round from the high cost of electricity tariff, and we've not stopped. We've not even finished talking about Ban A, Ban B, Ban C, and then this vandalization will cause a lot of issues. And of course, business is going to affect businesses, it's going to affect company, households, and all of that. And yes, it's going to affect people making up because you need the lights. But truly, this is a serious issue, and you wonder why all of these things are happening, and all of these individuals, I won't call them elements, who are hell-bent on causing havoc when it comes to these equipments. And like you mentioned something really critical. You said, don't we have individuals who secure these equipment when it has something to do with the country as a Nigerian? It's just we hear that there have been vandalism here when it comes to the Katampe area, but it's just unfortunate that It's just unfortunate, Anthony, and we pray that the needful is done as soon as possible. Very important.
All right, very important, and we hope the issue of this is done. Lyconsat, that's the reason I just spent billions to put that satellite up in the skies, hoping that it will be of use to the country. So we're calling on Lyconsat and the relevant agencies to deploy all of our national assets to see how we can safeguard the national grid and all this. All right, some issues are popping out from the ICPC, talking about the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, who said that 330 MDAs failed the financial tests. And so that's disturbing. When 300 plus fails, it shows you why corruption is neck deep in the civil service. Probably, I don't know how we're going to revamp or change the system, because before now, the civil service is seen as a place where, I don't know, those are not of the best minds work, while the best brains work in the private sector. But I think we have to change that narrative and let the best brains be both ways.
Exactly.
And, then the issue of the quality of staff has to be improved also deliberately.
Exactly. And when you said the best minds are in private sector and those that are not, but you know that education is not the true test of knowledge. Do you know that?
Yes.
Sometimes it's the system in which you find yourself, even when you are competent and you want to do the right thing, your predecessor who's ahead of you that has done something shady and you just want to follow suit. That is where we find ourselves when it comes to corrupt practices in Nigeria. It's just unfortunate that 300, that is a lot, Anthony. Do you know the impact they would have made if they were all on check and doing the right thing, if there was something qualitative coming out of that particular department? Do you know where it would have been as a country, as an individual? Employment would have been, it would have been a no-brainer, no issues at all when it comes to that. Like I said, it's just unfortunate that we have individuals who are there and you want to be umbrellaed under those that are not really of educational soundness are there. I do not think so. I just feel you can do the needful as long as you're in that department and it's explained to you what you're supposed to do. You know your functions and you know all of the things. You just don't want to. And it's just unfortunate that people just find every avenue just to go and hamper and collect cash where they can. It's just unfortunate.
Very sad story there, but we hope the needful would be done, and we hope that these MDAs, there will be deliberate attempts by the heads of these various MDAs. I think this calls to question the head of service. She has to do more to see that there's deliberate weeding of the bad eggs in these various MDAs so that we can get a better service delivery. There was a point where we had the Servicom, where the unit was created by the Obasanjo era to ensure that service delivery was prompt. We do not send the proposals or contracts to any unit and it's delayed more than 24 hours.
Very true.
You know, at a point that was effective because it puts the civil service
on check
on their tools to ensure that they attend to contracts and every details or mails that did come to the ministries, departments, and agencies. But at a point, it just fizzled out. Once one administration leaves, the other comes in. There seemed not to be this deliberate attempt to follow initiatives and programs that are worth the while. Remember the issue of Shopee also, which was very instrumental. It did help the mother and child mortality rate in the country, where it encouraged women in rural areas to attend the 4 stages of antenatal. Make sure they deliver in hospitals and all that. Because they had stipends they were given every time they come for antenatal. You could see their husbands gingerly come with them.
You would know.
I would know because I was part of that.
I know.
It made sense because there was also this issue of ensuring that every referral that went to the general hospitals was treated on the spot, and we had this unit where they taught this local health givers the basics, in order to make sure that they delivered quality health care.
It's very important.
I think if we can apply that principle, we could really go far.
And then the thing is, you see, when there's an amazing initiative like this, like all of these Shopees and all of what you Savvy and all of that, if there's a continuum, we will go really, really far. And for this particular number of 300 MDAs, it shows that Nigerians were watching. People are actually watching and monitoring all of these departments and agencies to see what next. But I hope we find a solution to it soon and see whether there's going to be a reshuffle. Let's see how far this will take us to ensure a better Nigeria.
All right, so ICPC, our eyes on you. We hope you would continue from where you just stopped, not just informing us that 330 MDAs failed the integrity test, but we want to see you go a step further, name these MDAs, then tell us specifically how you've gone from door to door to ensure that there's a change taking place. That's the only way we can get the truly great Nigeria we all deserve and yearn for. All right, there are some interesting talking points yesterday. It was everywhere you go as a wiki. The revoking of some top government functionaries, their allocations. Some people felt it was some drama, because I think it's a little bit dramatic too. So probably he just wanted to cause a stir to say, okay, yes, he could touch the untouchables. But do you think that was the case, or he was just being wicked?
I don't know why you're putting me on this.
Because I know he's your favorite man.
Yes, he's one of my favorite men when it comes to individuals who are working. And for me, that's my own personal opinion, not Global Television, but I feel he's one individual who is working and has Nigeria at heart. But people might say, Juma, what the heck are you saying? Are you kidding me right now? This man is demolishing houses and all of that. But the truth is, if you have your land in a place where it is illegal, it will be demolished. It's very simple, because it's going to cause an obstruction. There are so many things. Just get the right documents in which you need, and then you'll be fine. I'm just saying that if you see someone who is working and performing, when it comes to
Mr. President, the Secretary to Government Federation, Roger Kuma, this man got lands in illegal places. What are you Mr. President?
I am just saying, if you're going to cause an obstruction when it comes to,
I'm not arguing that.
I'm just saying.
We're saying,
some of our ministers are the top elites. You might just get land as a gift from maybe someone who's in power, exactly, and just say, okay, this is yours, not finding out or knowing whether in the future there's going to be an obstruction when it comes to that particular area in which you've gotten that land. I know some very prominent celebs who have gotten land and it has been demolished. Are you kidding me? Because it's an obstruction to the road which leads to somewhere, a connect. So really, that's when we have to start doing the right thing.
Okay, in as much as yes,
I don't know why you're putting me on the spot.
I agree. I'm away from it. I'm saying, if he's this good in trying to do right is right, why is he not doing right is right when it comes to Rivers State?
When you say why is not doing really?
Why is he not letting governors sing Fubara? Okay, yeah, he is the man in charge. Why allow some group of lawmakers continue to disturb the peace of Rivers State? I'm just asking, not you. I'm just asking the FCT minister, Nelson Wike. I know you can speak out real loud and clear, so I would like you to give me a response to that.
But really, no comment when it comes to that. But the truth is no comment. I just feel that it's more than what we see when it comes to the issue of Rivers State. And that's my own personal opinion. I think it's more than that. I think the needful needs to be done. I think there's just something that is actually fueling this particular issue, but with time, I just feel,
I'm truly convinced.
Loyalty is very important. Listen to this word. No, let me just tell you. The truth is, I've always believed that you can never bite the finger that has fed you. Don't ever bite the finger. Still be
the new term is I will chop the finger. Somebody told me the mom said that.
Oh my goodness.
And I know you know the best. I will chop the finger. So, that's the essence, just to as much as we inform you, just to crack you up a little bit and give you. So we're going for a quick break. When we return from the break, we'll be looking at what the papers are saying this morning. Please stay with us.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper review, latest news with experts on key global issues.
and at the same time keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed. Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
right, you're welcome back, and it's still the program Global Morning, and at about this time is the newspaper review segment, and we'll be starting with the first newspaper of the day, and it's the Daily Trust. And then below the caption of the Daily Trust, it says, Tinubu Shettima Strip refreshment to gulp 9.4 billion naira. And we have two riders there, and it says here, presidency to spend 10.6 billion naira on cars, on honorarium fuel, SA's office. And the second rider says appropriation bill skills second reading at NAS. And here it says federal government reverses Ogunjimi's appointment as AGF, made into complete tenure, and you can find that on page 6 of the Daily Trust. And marketers expect cheaper petrol as Dangote cuts price to 899 naira 50 kobo per litre. And here it says Ibadan stampede, death toll hits 40, Oni's ex-wife, others detained. And still on the Daily Trust, here it says ahead Christmas, chicken costs 25,000 naira, turkey 130,000 naira. And below that it says Wike revokes Omoge Abbas Akuma's land allocation. And here it says one killed, siblings injured at explosion rock Niger community. 57.40 billion naira greater Ditse water project takes off in Jigawa. And those are the top stories on the Daily Trust. Please go out and get yourself a copy to get more insight on the news. And Anthony will be taking us to the next paper.
All right, we've got the Nation's newspaper next up for review as we look at the telling headlines on the Nation's newspaper. We've got police confirm 35 children dead in Ibadan stampede is a screaming headline there. Police confirm 35 children dead in Ibadan stampede is a big headline story there from the Nation's newspaper as we look at other headline stories. Underneath it says Tinubu mounts August probe Oni's ex-queen and 6 others arrested is the headline story there. Then we've got Abbas Obasani, Onogen, and Okudra Melaye, others, okay, have Abuja plots revoked. That's the headline, not so clear from the Nation's newspaper. Those are some of the headline stories, and underneath we have 84.5 billion naira allocated for minimum wage in 2025, federal government estimates. That's the headline story there. Then we've got bill passes second reading. That's the final story on page 2 of the Nation's newspaper. And I will be joined via Zoom by Ben Shimang of the African Service of Deutsche Welle, joining us via Zoom to help us do the analysis of some of these big stories making their rounds. So let's quickly join Ben Shimang so that we can get his perspective. So some of the headline stories we've got there. Good morning, Ben Shimang. Thank you for joining us on Global Morning.
Thank you, Globally. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, and nice to hear your voice again. Let's take a look. Let's take you quickly to Southwest, talking about the Ibadan stampede. What do you think really played out, and do you think the subsequent arrest of the ex-queen of the Oni seemed to overshadow the real issue of the day, the death of over 35 children? Do you think it was more of the Queen's fault or the arrangements, and is the fact that the organizer was the ex-queen that is still in the top light of the whole event?
Yeah, Anthony, may their souls rest in peace. Very innocent children trying to catch fun, organized by elders who are influential members of society. And it's apt that they were invited. I saw the deputy governor saying the organizer should just report to the police. So it's right that they did so. But again, it goes beyond just that. Let's begin to look at, because more of this catching of phone, Christmas is around the corner, Salah will come, and many other events like that will come up. We should be looking at the structure, the way it's been planned. When it's been planned, at what point do you learn from past stampedes? What caused past stampedes? And you learn from there. Sometimes it's structural. Recall that at the point APC with Buhari on stage that time and many others, the stage collapsed, and I think it also happened to either PDP or something like that. You don't plan accidents. I'm sure she didn't plan to have these children killed. She didn't plan to ensure that a stage or a stampede took place. But again, there ought to be some experts to look at the event itself. If the children were becoming too many, of course there has to be a way of blocking them from entering. I do remember when the National Stadium, now MKO Abiola Stadium in Abuja, was to be opened. Almaty Brazil was invited to play with or against Nigeria to have the very first opening match, and the 60,000 seating capacity was in fact filled to the brim. They had to shut down every gate to ensure that the facility was not overstretched. So let us not look at it, okay, former queen or former wife of Oni of Ife or so organized. So what? Any other person can organize that. Yes, she was arrested. Yes, it is right she could be arrested. But let us look at what actually went wrong. If it was the seating capacity, poor organizational structure, mismanagement of crowd, you did not even invite probably police who can help to control these children. They were not there. So many things must have gone wrong, and that's why you have to go to unearth what went wrong. Now we have to talk of manslaughter. Manslaughter in this case, killing without intention to kill. You caused it, but you didn't plan to kill them. You planned that they should have fun, meaning that there is humanity, but humanity has gone wrong. So the law has to take its course, so to speak.
All right, Mr. Ben, good morning. Away from the stampede now, a very sad issue that happened there. I want to look at something different, and I'm going to put you on the spot. I really want to put you on the spot, Mr. Ben. And here it says Abbas, Ubasani, Onoge, Okocha, Malawi, others lose Abuja plots of land. And we know who is spearheading that. Do you think it's justifiable, or the FCT minister, rather than Nyesom Wike, is just being Nyesom Wike?
I like that man this morning, Nyesom Wike. If you are given a plot, either behind the window or inside the gate, legally, but you didn't do or fulfill certain aspects of the law, and the power so vested on him says he can revoke, he has done it. And there is no segregation as to who is involved. You can see former President Buhari is involved, even though Sheikh Garuba has come out to say that, look, Buhari has just one plot of land, and that is legally done. Any other one bearing his name is fake. Now we know. Now you're talking of former Chief Justice of the Federation. You're talking about, we just hear Akume. Is it Akume Junior, Akume wife, Akume the SGF? I know that's the trickish nature of journalism. You cast the headline in such a way that you tempt people. Let me go and see whether it's Judge Akume, former governor, former senator, current SGF, who has broken the law. In other words, when you're talking about the law put on a scale, it has to be balanced. It shouldn't tilt towards, oh, this one is more powerful. Might shouldn't be right when it comes to the law. And when some people talk truth to the law, like Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka, he talks truth to authority. Now, having some people who are fearless, say, look, the law says this, and he does it. Look at, he revoked that of Julius Berger. Some people would have said, oh, this man has helped Nigeria in terms of physical infrastructure, so let's not tamper with his property. But Wike is saying no, and he did it. Therefore, if he can do it to the very mighty, any other person who does not obey the law, of course, has to be sanctioned. It is just what the law is all about. The law is not friendly to even its friends, because it's an double-edged sword. I can see that some people are also saying that even Wike himself is not clean. He should come out clean on a plot allocation. But this is an allegation. It's for them to prove all of that. And so Wike, I think, is thumb up for him. I see that some people are saying, oh, he's been tampering with the masses of Abuja. He's destroying their property. He's destroying original settlements. But you see, coming to land law, the law has been vested onto Wike as far as FCT land is concerned. And that was why he also went in and said, look, all embassies, all high commissions that have not been paying ground rates, he brought them and given the amount and virtually disgraced everyone. And the money came. And from there, he started construction work. You can see rural roads being opened here and there, feeder roads being opened here and there. And maybe in terms of retaliation, you can see that the High Commission in London, the Nigerian embassy now in New York, they now say, oh, Nigeria owes, a kind of, to also remind us that whoever comes to justice must come with clean hands. If we are sanitizing Abuja, okay, abroad, we are also not too clean. And so that is the truth of the matter. But the law must take its course.
All right, as we hope the law take its full course, let's take you back to one of the top stories on the Daily Trust. It says federal government reverses Ogunjimi's appointment as AGF, leading to complete tenure is one of the big stories there. And we also got a 2025 budget, Tinubu Shettima trips, refreshment to GOP 9.4 billion naira. Presidency to spend 10.6 billion naira on cars, honorarium, fuel, SA's office. Appropriation bill scale second reading at NAS. What's your take on these two interesting headlines?
Yeah, you see, the appropriation bill is taking a supersonic speed to get it passed. Is it that the National Assembly wants to go on recess and enjoy their holidays, and that's why they are in a haste? Or is it truly they are just trying to serve or help the Nigerian live better lives via the passage of the bill? Or is it that, yeah, we have to keep to January, December appropriation year? Whichever it is, at the point we were hearing from the feelers, our feelers were that the Senate is saying, or the National Assembly, 10 National Assembly is saying the president will always get its full cooperation. Is this what we call full cooperation? When you can question some things, what can you bring to limelight when you're talking about questioning or exercising this separation of power thing? Tell me how every year we have to buy cars in the in the State House. There's appropriation there. Why is it that entertainment would take this bogus amount that is the budget of very key agencies put together, And so this we have to like it said in Nigerian palace, we have to touchlight some of these things, bring them to scrutiny, and see how true, how better, how good they ought to be for Nigeria. Because no, many things ought to be questioned. We're still talking of buying stationery. We're still talking of buying computers. Is it that every year their computers spoil? What's I mean, the quantum of the message, our messages being stockpiled there, when we can go into the cloud and do some storages. Now, to maintain the villa itself, you have to make it stand new. All the time you see Julius Berger workers doing some painting work here and there, gardening taking place here and there, you know. But I think that if I were to be the president, the bush around the villa, I'll turn it into a recreation center. I can see quite a lot of monkeys there. I can see quite a lot of other not too dangerous animals in there. You can cage them if they are dangerous and turn it into a tourism center. Holidays like this, children would love to go see some animals that are alive, you know. But truly, one is worried as to the supersonic manner and way in which the budget is about being passed.
Well, Mr. Ben, away from that now, let's look at another story on the Daily Trust. It says here, marketers expect cheaper petrol as Dangote cuts price to 899.50 kobo per liter. How visible do you think that will be, and how will it affect us? Of course, there's the rural of fuel subsidy. How do you think all of this will play out, basically?
It will play out. If we say it will play out, it's like it's a futuristic thing that we are sure will take place tomorrow. Maybe we just say, how can this? Is it possible?
Exactly. And
we're talking of, yes, we're talking about orientation and reorientation, our values. See, madam, from my visiting Germany around Christmas period, end of September, October, there's crashing. You crash prices, rock bottom, very low prices of virtually every good. Now you're passing through some houses, you don't see furniture being brought out and kept at the gate of that house. In other words, they no longer need it. It's for the city council to carry them, go destroy. Or if you like them, you just carry. These are all incentives to the very poor. But in our own case, the moment it is a festival, especially religious festivals, be them Christian or Muslim festival, it's then prices will go up. It's now probably that we are not going to see long queues after very, very many years of long queues during Christmas or Salah festivities. Now, if Dangote has come on board with so full of milk of human kindness, let me put it this way, with the hope that he will help Nigerians. Yes, I can see he has reduced pump prices, cost of loading being reduced. It's supposed to permeate down so that it reaches us, we the masses down here. So how can they do that? Yes, since he has reduced, you going to buy from him, you also ensure you reduced. But in Nigeria, some people buy. Don't be surprised. Some people have a stockpile of some of fuel in their filling stations, with the hope that the usual tradition of mass inhumanity, of which we are known for during ceremonies like this, will come to play, and that is when they'll bring out their fuel for sale. Just like Mele Kyari for the other time, which I may tend to now agree with him. He said, look, when you smuggle one petrol, the big tanker of petrol, you make millions. But when you sell legally in Nigeria, your profit is around 500,000. But when it is outside the country, the very least you can ever think of is around 10 million naira. So you can see why smuggling goes on. When you say, are we going to see it You see, if there is a change of heart, change of attitude, and I think it's doable. But in as much as we begin to have satanic capitalism, let me put it this way, satanism, when it comes to making money, I think we're going to get it wrong all through. But I think one day, just one day, because when you look at the number of churches, number of mosques, many of the loudspeakers shouting the presence of God, without the presence of God in our hearts, I think one day if we acknowledge the presence of God, things may change.
All right, let's take you to the leadership newspaper as we look at the big stories there. We've got Unitide is the kicker there. It says passengers grown as flight tickets to Southeast near 1 million naira. Then we've got a Northern Women's Augustin Kaduna for Historic Unity Conference. You find that story. Then we've got 2025 budget is the rider. Federal government earmarks 14.97 trillion naira for security and others. Federal government to sell new oil wells in 2025. And the state of the stampede, 32 die as children carnival in Oyo. Government arrest organizers. Suspended Edo local government chairman vowed to remain in office. And that's some of the headline stories there. Let's just quickly look at what's playing out in Edo State, where the suspended local government chairman vowed to be in office. Already yesterday, we've got the Minister of Justice, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, come out to say Governor Mongo Bello erred when he suspended those local government, 18 PDP local government chairmen, saying he went out of line. From your perspective, do you think the governor actually erred, or he's just simply exercising his powers?
Yeah, you see, the Attorney General of the Federation, as far as I'm concerned, is, let me call him the Chief Law Officer of the Federation. He has this thing you call null prosequi, the power. You can refuse to prosecute any case because you deem so, and the law empowers you to do so. If he's not what the lawyers will say, amicus curiae, a friend of the court. He's just the court himself when it comes to issues of this nature. In other words, he knows so much about it, and if therefore the act done by the governor is going to cause chaos, the law also allows the House of Representatives here in Abuja to take over lawmaking in any state where parliament cannot work. But in this case, it is the case of a local government. So these are new things, new discoveries that are not enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution. When you just wake up, you realize that you are surrounded by people in a different political party. What do? Cajole them, woo them. Maybe they'll even cross over. Since Nigeria is easy to just cross over just anyhow. I think that the governor is wrong there, as in wrong. Do your governance. Forget about trying to cause confusion. You have just 4 years to perform, and if you don't perform, of course you are kicked out. And in kicking him out, then it means the electorate are talking. Now we go to the budget. You see the defense or security taking the lion chunk of the appropriation for 2025. To me, it's appropriate, truly, because you cannot talk of investors coming in when they know they cannot secure their businesses, you know. And I tell you, Anthony, day before yesterday in Nasokoro, in a filling station, I saw a Chinese man in an FGN vehicle, tinted. He went up, down from the car, took fuel, paid. In fact, it's written presidency and the number. I said, come. If it's a diplomat, why is he not in a diplomatic core vehicle? You know, if he's highly placed and they feel they should give him protection, VIP protection. But why do we have that big Toyota presidency written? The man paid, brought his ATM. I said, come, this thing is wrong as in wrong. They zoomed off. I mean, so we need to scrutinize quite a lot of things. When you say everybody in tinted glasses that are not legal, I mean, should be prosecuted. This is an example. Some Chinese are in a presidency vehicle, tinted glasses, probably with a siren, you know, everybody in a checkpoint will give them way and they pass. We have to check that. You see vehicles in a convoy, there's no single identification number. We have to check that, you know. Then when you're talking of infiltrations here and there, I mean, by foreigners, hoisting flags, hindering people from doing legal businesses, and kidnapping here and there. In fact, in some areas in southern Kaduna, Kaura local government is under siege. People should, security agencies, Governor Sani, Ubasani, please do something. The director, State Security Services, do something, you know. And we also have, incidentally in Kaduna State, the security architecture happens to be virtually from one tribe. They should do something. Commissioner for Internal Security is from the local government. Talking of Honorable Kanyuk, the local government chairman is also from, I mean, it's there too. And so we have a whole gamut of crises that are plaguing that local government. There's virtually almost no week that someone is not kidnapped. So if the issue is serious and too much for them, they should call in the federal apparatus to assist. And that is just one local government. And I can see that they said the Statistician General of the Federation is being invited for having brought out statistics to show region by region, state by state, how much has been paid in terms of ransom in the Federation. Even though I know quite a lot from my community have not been captured. And so it's
sorry, not to cut you short, but my final question before we go for the Global AM News is, do you think the federal government, especially the Nigerian army or military, they are being sincere? Why invite him to come question what he made public for the good of the country? And like rightly pointed out, heavy chunk of the budget is for security. Do you think these monies are well utilized? Because being honest, can we truly say the insecurity has really reduced despite the large amount of allocation put for budget for insecurity, fighting insecurity?
Is it Anthony?
Using Kaduna as a case study.
Yes. Let me be frank to you. I was a state correspondent from a state house correspondent from Dodan Barracks. With Abacha, even when he died, I did with Abdusalami when he handed over. I did little months with Obasanjo. With Buhari, I was still posted back there, and I did 2 years. I was begging to leave. From what I know, in some cases and in many cases, budget is just a wishful thinking. I'm wishing and I'm thinking that I'll get so amount, and if I get, I'll spend them on this and that and that. So when you see allocations, these are wishes. Let me put it that way, that I'm wishing I'll spend this money this way. So when you allocate, does it translate into money? When inflation will come and make rubbish of all the budget that has been done, is it the military that will look at them in general? The Air Force will need helicopters. They will need jets, super Tucanics. Is it the Navy? Can you take care of your frigate and many other warships? Can you take care of your boats? You come to the army, ground troops so wide, so large. Is it the police? Do they have special filling stations that are free for them to get fuel? The scarcity of fuel that we are getting is what is hitting them. They need this money to help Nigeria. We need all. So when it comes to, are they sincere? You see, they could request for this and you just see approved. Approval does not follow money. I was director training, I was director news, and sometimes when you make requests, your boss will just say approved, but it's approved. Where is the money? You keep going and they say, oh, money has not come. The war will not be waiting till money comes, and the law does not allow you to borrow in anticipation. As a head of department, as a head of agency, as a head of army, you want to borrow from where you don't have the capacity, and tell me the commander, the chief of defense staff, that will enjoy seeing his troops dying in battlefield. I've been in battlefield, I slept in the trenches, I was embedded, I saw what the soldiers were facing. Just look, Anthony, there are things that we ought not to be saying here. We ought to see the National Assembly assisting these people. They leave their families, they are in trenches, everybody is feeling it's so cold now in Abuja, very cool. Go to Maiduguri and feel what cold is all about. These soldiers are there, the policemen are there, DSS personnel are there. All we do is criticize, and criticize. When are we going to support them? National Assembly, give them this money. When you see them succeeding, then arms have been purchased. This security, is everybody's business. It's serious matter.
All right, thank you very much, Ben Shimon. We're truly grateful for giving us your time and giving us very deep analysis of all the talking points and taking us through your experiences covering the military. And we do appreciate the efforts of our gallant officers in securing this great country. That's where we're going to leave it for now as we go for a quick break and bring you Global AM News to give you all the big stories making the rounds. When we return, then our discussions continues. Please stay with us.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper review, latest news with experts on key global issues,
and at the same time keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed. Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
warm welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News on Global Television. Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Jumai Manson. Now, a quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nicomsat. London News in full. President Bola Tinubu has expressed sadness over the tragic incident that at a children's fun fair in Ibadan, Oyo State, which claimed innocent lives and left many others injured. Tinubu extended his condolences to the government and people of Oyo State, and most importantly to the grieving families who have lost their children in the unfortunate event. It was reported that 32 children died during a stampede at a fun fair in Ibadan on Wednesday, with reports on Thursday indicating a rise to 35. A Kano State High Court has ordered Kano State government to pay 8,511 million naira to Lamash Properties Limited, owners of the buildings demolished by the state governor Abba Kabir Yusuf. The court also gave an order for the defendants consisting of Kano State government, Governor Abba Kabir, and the State Attorney General to pay an additional 10 million naira as a course of filing the case. The buildings, which were brought down on the order of the governor in June 2023, were the subject matter of a lawsuit filed by Lamash Properties, who claimed that the destructions caused by the governor were unwarranted. In an originating summons filed before a High Court of Kano State presided over by Justice Samisu Maji, the plaintiff said it obtained the property legally via an agreement with the state government under the administration of Governor Abdullahi Ganduje. A former High Court in Abuja has ordered the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, and the Nigeria Immigration Service, NIS, to ensure that the applicants who met all the requirements to get international passports get them within 6 weeks. The court said this delivery period is achievable before it is in line with Section 9, Subsection 4 of the Immigration Act 2015. Justice Emeka Iwete ordered in a judgment he delivered on the fundamental rights enforcement suit filed by an aggrieved Nigerian, Benita Ngozi Ezemezu, against the NIS and the minister listed as respondents. The court ordered the service to pay 3 million naira as damages to Benita for failing to issue her international passport within the stipulated 6 weeks. Now, in the meantime, the National Assembly has expressed its displeasure with the judiciary age-long practice of granting tenure to heads of all categories of superior courts of record in the country. By age-long tradition, heads of court, including the Chief Justice of Nigeria, the presidents of the appeal court, hold offices until they attain their retirement age. Although heads of the executive and the legislature are elected for a fixed tenure of the office, unlike the heads of all categories of superior courts of record who are appointed, the National Assembly is planning to amend the Constitution for inclusion of a maximum 5-year tenure clause for heads of courts in the country. The lawmakers are contending that fixing a tenure of office for the heads of courts will enhance service efficiency and motivation. The Nigerian Army has presented houses to 20 wounded in action soldiers in Abuja in continuation of efforts to advance the welfare of its personnel. The Chief of Defense Staff, CDS General Christopher Musa, presented the keys to the beneficiaries during the inauguration of the Nigerian Army housing units under the Affordable Home Ownership Option for All Soldiers scheme. In his remark, the CDS charged other services to key into the project and provided housing units to all ratings and airmen, as he described the project as a true testament to the untiring effort of the late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taweed Lagbaja, who had continuously advanced the welfare of Army personnel. He commended the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, for continuing with this scheme, ensuring that more houses will be built for interested subscribers. Troops of the Multinational Joint Task Force operating under Section 1 in Mora have successfully repelled a coordinated attack by Boko Haram ISWAP terrorists on the military base at Darak in Cameroon. The Chief Military Information Officer of the Lieutenant Colonel Olaniyi Osoba, in a statement, said the operation led to the elimination of 10 terrorists in the early hours of Wednesday. In affairs gone bad to troops, swiftly engaged the terrorists, eliminating eliminating 6 terrorists and forcing others to flee with varying degrees of gunshot wounds. According to the Joint Task Force, 5 soldiers sustained injuries during the encounter and are currently responding to medical treatment. The federal government, in collaboration with relevant stakeholders, is to implement the Proof of Address System initiative to address insecurity across 774 local government areas in the country. Secretary to the Government of the Federation, SGF Senator George Akume, disclosed this at a stakeholders meeting for the activation and implementation of the local government proof of address system in Abuja. The SGF, represented by the Permanent Secretary, General Services Office, Nnamdi Mbere, explained that Nigeria, like many nations, had been grappling with a myriad of challenges such as insecurity, social vices, economic instability, and inefficient governance in public and private sectors. He added that the initiative reflected the unwavering commitment of President Bola Tinubu to address key challenges facing the country while laying the foundation for a safer, more efficient, and prosperous Nigeria. The Minister of Environment, Balarabe Lawal, has stated that agroclimatic resilience in semi-arid landscapes project is crucial in addressing land degradation, food insecurity, among others. Lawal Sojeng in Abuja at the endorsement and validation of the first phase of developed strategies catchment management plan. Stakeholders noted that the agency is a World Bank finance project that aims to address climate change and land degradation in Nigeria's northern states. The minister said the ACRESAL project was environmentally friendly with a focus on 3 issues: food, security, water supply, and the environment. In a bid to address the pressing issues of unemployment and skill acquisition in Nigeria, the Progressive Institute of the All Progressive Congress, APC, has organized a 3-day national conference in Abuja. The conference, which kicked off on Tuesday, has brought together stakeholders from various sectors to discuss ways of empowering the nation's youth. Queen Agaba has the rest of the story.
Your Excellency, we have also discussed with the management of the nation about the urgent need to appreciate the process of organizing a national discourse on the development of the progressive ideology. This will be preceded by a party-wide consultations in order to ensure inclusiveness and ownership in keeping with the directive of Mr. President on this very important issue.
Thank you, Queen, for that report. The House of Representatives will, on December 31st, 2024, present the sum of 704.91 million naira to President Bola Tinubu for the use of vulnerable Nigerians owing to the economic hardship occasioned by the removal of the petrol subsidy. Recall that on July 18th, the House resolved to slash 50% of their salaries for 6 months to address the challenges faced by ordinary Nigerians following the adoption of a motion moved during a plenary session. Following a motion by the Deputy Speaker, Benjamin Kalu, the House in July resolved to donate half of their salaries to meet the hunger needs of Nigerians as part of efforts to stop the end bad governance protest. The Olubadan of Ibadan land, Oba Owolabi Olakunlehin, and the Olubadan in Council have condemned the tragic and untimely death of children, as well as injuries sustained during a stampede at the Children's Carnival held at Islamic High School, Basoro in Ibadan, Oyo State. In a statement issued by his Chief Press Secretary, Olugbemiga Ayorade in Ibadan, the state capital, the Olubadan commiserated with the families of the deceased. Over 30 children reportedly lost their lives during a stampede, while several others sustained varying degrees of injuries. Oba Olukulehin, along with the Olubadan in Council, wished the injury a speedy recovery and urged the state government to investigate the incident, prevent future occurrences, and hold the culprits accountable. You're watching AM News on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. When AM News returns, Wike revokes Buhari, Onoge Akume's Abuja land titles. Details of this as well as foreign and sports stories coming right after this break. Please stay with us. You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is AM News on Global Television. Thank you for staying with us. On our business desk, the federal government through the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, has announced the transfer of regulatory oversight of the electricity market in Lagos State to the newly established Lagos State Electricity Regulation Commission. This was contained in a statement released by NERC on X. This move follows the amended provisions of Nigerian Constitution and the Electricity Act of 2023. NERC said the transfer of regulatory oversight is in line with the amended Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Electricity Act of 2023. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has revoked land titles belonging to former President Muhammadu Buhari, former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Walter Onoge, and Security Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume. Recall that the Federal Capital Territory Administration in October had threatened to revoke the certificates of occupancy of plots of land owned by prominent individuals and corporate organizations in Abuja. In a notice published October 5, 2024, the administration issued a 2-week ultimatum to landowners in the Maitama district of Abuja to settle outstanding payments for their CFO or risk losing their property rights. The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Yari, commenced the distribution of subsidies inputs to no fewer than 6,000 wheat farmers in Kano State. The minister, represented by the State Coordinator, Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, Isa Haturo, made the disclosure at the aggregation center of Akamawa village in the Kankura local government area of the state. He said the distribution of the input, which is under the federal government's special program on wheat production, is expected to boost wheat production as the government gave the input at a 75% subsidy. Central Bank of Nigeria has revealed that diaspora remittance processed through international money transfer operations reached $4.22 billion between January and October 2024. Now, this figure nearly doubles the $2.62 billion recorded during the same period in 2023. CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso shared this information while addressing the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions during an interactive session held at the National Assembly on Wednesday. Cardoso stated that the year-on-year increase of approximately 61.1% reflects significant growth. President of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, NSE, Engineer Margaret Oguntala, has called for the use of artificial intelligence AI to ensure pipeline integrity in the real-time monitoring systems. Oguntala, speaking at the 2024 Nigeria International Pipeline Technology and Security Conference, highlighted the central role of pipelines in Nigeria's energy sector. The event served as a crucial platform for driving forward Nigeria's pipeline infrastructure agenda, ensuring that it continues to support both national economic development and environmental preservation. Presented by the NSE Vice President Corporate Services, Engineer Dr. Felicia Abubakar, Oguntala emphasized that pipelines are not only crucial for energy transportation, but also for job creation, industrialization, and supporting key infrastructure projects in sectors such as agriculture, healthcare, and education. On our foreign news, Russian President Vladimir Putin has acknowledged concerns over high inflation, but insisted the economy was stable. In the face of external threats, Russia's central bank is set to hike interest rates on Friday in its latest attempt to deal with the pace of price rises amid the military offensive on Ukraine. Putin said at the televised end-of-year press conference that with the economy as a whole, the situation in Russia is stable despite external threats. He also hoped that if macroeconomic indicators are maintained, Russia will be able to cope with it. Russia officially targets inflation of 4.0% through prices has risen significantly faster since February 2022, when Moscow ordered troops into Ukraine. French rape survivor Gisela Palake's ex-husband has been jailed for 20 years after drugging and raping her and inviting dozens of strangers to also abuse her over nearly a decade. Demirkeu Palake, 74, was found guilty of all charges by a judge in Avignon, southern France, and cried in court as he was sentenced to a maximum term. He was on trial with 50 other men, all of whom were found guilty of at least one charge, although their jail terms were less than what prosecutors had demanded. Iraq Interior Ministry spokesman Mikdad Murray has said that Iraq will begin repatriating Syrian troops who fled a lightning offensive that participated the ouster of President Bashar al-Assad. Assad fled Syria as an offensive spearheaded by the Islamist Hayat Tahrir al-Sham closed in Damascus more than 13 years after his crackdown on democracy protests into one of the deadliest wars of the century. Taking city after city in a matter of days, Islamic-led rebels faced little resistance and reached Damascus on December 8th. A Labour minister has been named in an investigation into claims her family embezzled up to 3.9 billion euros from infrastructure projects in Bangladesh. Tulip Siddiq, who as the Treasury's Economic Secretary is responsible for tackling corruption in UK financial markets, is alleged to have backing the deal with Russia in 2013 that overinflated the price of new nuclear power plants in Bangladesh. The allegation is part of a wide investigation by Bangladesh Anti-Corruption Commission ACC into Siddique's aunt, Sheikh Hussaina, who was deposed as Prime Minister of the country in August. In sports now, Wolverhampton Wanderers have announced the appointment of Vitor Pereira as their new head coach in an 18-month deal. The seasoned Trojan was a reputation for success across UK, Asia and Middle East, replaces Gary O'Neill, who was dismissed on December 15 following 4 consecutive Premier League defeats. The 56-year-old Portuguese coach assumes the role at a crucial juncture with Wolves languishing in 19th place in the Premier League table. The Franklin Group has completed its takeover of Everton, ending the turbulent tenure of Farhad Mashiru. The deal for 99.5% of the club is believed to be worth the excess of 400 million euros, and the Toffee became the 10th club in the Premier League under majority American control. The group reached an agreement with Mashiru on 23rd September and were awaiting regulatory approval, with the Premier League having the final say on the deal, and this has now granted. The Texas-based group is led by Chairman Dan Frandine and also owns Italian Serie A club Roma. Franklin has a net worth of £6.16 billion. As we end the AM News, let's take a quick look at our top stories again. Brought to you that President Bola Tinubu has expressed sadness over the tragic incident at the Children's Fun Fair in Ibadan, Oyo State capital, which claimed innocent lives and left many others injured. In business, the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, commenced the distribution of subsidies impute to no fewer than 6,000 wheat farmers in Kano State. And on the foreign scene, French rape survivor Gisela Palake's ex-husband has been jailed for 20 years after drugging and raping her and inviting dozens of strangers to also abuse her over nearly a decade. And finally, in sports, Wolverhampton Wanderers have announced the appointment of Vitor Pereira as their new head coach on an 18-month deal. Now that's it on AM News, and it came to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365, on Star Times channel 276, and free to air on Nicomsat. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen by using at Global TV NG. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching. Good morning.
is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper review, latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed. Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Welcome back from the Global AM News. Now you're well informed of all the big happenings across Nigeria and in the respective ministries, departments, and agencies of government, and also looking at issues from different facets of our national life. I've got some stories concerning sporting, the sports sector, the financial sector, the health sector, and of course the security sector, the education sector. All those are encompassed in the AM Global News. We'll be going for another quick break. My producer says let's go for a quick one, and when we return we'll be heading into the discourse of the day. Stay with us. back from the break. Is now time for us to hit that button where we talk about silent issues making the rounds. And on today's edition, this segment where we're having a very key discussions. We know that looking at the papers this morning, we were told that Tinubu and Shetima's trips and refreshments would go up as much as 9.4 billion naira for the 2025 budgets that is to come, meaning that the presidency will spend 10.6 billion naira on cars and also for the fuel, SAs and other expenditure. But 9.4 billion is quite a huge amount for government expenditure, putting into consideration the economic hardship Nigerians are going through. That has inspired us to look at the topic, the cutting cost of governance, the measures that can be taken and the benefits that come with cutting cost of governance. And one man who is endeared to us grooming leadership and installing great leadership is no other person but Ben Alika, who is the global president of the Global Leadership Commission. Is joining us via Zoom this morning to help us look at how best the federal government, this sub-national level, talking about the state governors, and in deep analysis also putting into consideration the local government level of governance, to how these 3 tiers of government can cut the cost of governance, the measures that can be taken and the benefit that would come to us as a people and as a nation. I want to say good morning to you, Ben Alika, and sorry for the mix-up in the time frame, but we're glad to have you join us on Global Morning.
Yeah, good morning, Tony. My pleasure. As always, thank you for having me. Thank you, Nigerians.
All right, as a global leadership expert who has over the years helped groom a lot of leaders and also help those in leadership position to get the right norms in leading an entity, a society, a government. What would be your holistic analysis of leadership, this present day leadership we've got in the country, before we delve into cutting the cost of governance? First of all, how would you describe the kind of leaders we have and the style of leadership?
That's interesting. Well, that's an interesting question to ask. It's a paradox, actually. But let me say this. In terms of leadership and governance, humans generally do not necessarily act involuntarily, right? Okay. The actions of humans, people can be impulsive, instinctive, but when it comes to leadership, a leader doesn't just happen into an office, if you know what I mean. All right? It's always a process. Now, every leader is a product of his self-constitution. All right? Now, self-constitution in terms of what defines his character, his personality, his convictions, his motivations, his priorities, an idea of life generally, his outlook, his perceptions. Okay, so in that wise, you see that the action of a leader at every point in time is inevitably the consequences of who he is in terms of his journeys of life, in terms of what defines his person, his personality, and his philosophies and ideals. All right, and the more important, how he perceives leadership, responsibilities of leadership. All right, what defines his priorities now, and how he approaches the whole idea of governance. Now, for someone who is philosophically driven, who is visionary, who is result driven, and based on his sense of relationship with the nation and the citizens. All right. Now, if it's a person who is driven by a sense of farsightedness, vision, and purpose, now typically how he approaches the issue of spendings, for instance, public spending, his relationship with public treasury, will typically, be determined by how he relates with those visions and purposes. Now, for instance, I watched a video recently by one of these top Indian officials in government, and so he was reeling out. Apparently, he was addressing, I think, the Parliament of India, and so he was giving a breakdown of what they have achieved the last 10 years. It was staggering. Now, one of the things he said was his introduction, that the success so far recorded within the 10-year period of their government cannot be said to be a coincidence. He said it was the result of strategic growth plan that was meticulously, defined and implemented within this period. And now first he talks about the 4 pillars of the growth action plan that they came up with from the beginning, and then how they implemented it, and then importantly the results that have been achieved. It was staggering. One of the, I can't remember everything, but one of the things that he said was that within this period of 10 years, they have lifted up 250 million Indians out of poverty. And I'm sure those figures are verifiable. 250 million Indians out of poverty. So in that context, you can't be talking about cutting cost of governance. You can't be talking about frivolities. You can't be talking about, frivolous spendings. No, because there's a vision, there's a purpose, is a result-driven governance. So every fund that can be laid hold of will be mobilized for that purpose, because they had already benchmarked what will be the accomplishment within that specific period of time and in the context of those strategies and vision that they have developed. So that is the whole idea of leadership. That's the whole concept of leadership. Strategic thinking and planning. All right. So if you look at where we are right now today, a lot of issues are at stake. Now, before you come in, let me just say this quickly. If you look at the kind of politicians we have today and what we have experienced at least the last 1 year of this government, and specifically to the budget you mentioned, I've not gone through the budget, so I don't know specifics, but at least I heard one of the figures you just mentioned, and for what reason. And so you can understand, what the priority of the government is, okay, and the character of the leadership that we have, not just at the presidential level, at the federal level, but at all of other levels. So please go ahead.
All right. Looking at the fact that 9.4 billion naira is going to be expended on refreshment alone in a budget of 49.7 trillion, and we've got 9.4 billion for refreshment alone earmarked for next year. And also putting into consideration, I think this year 2024, billions were expended in the refurbishing of the vice president's accommodation, which currently, from records and information reaching us, he does not dwell in. Does this give us an idea, like you rightly put there, the mindset of our leaders, and if these leaders can achieve half of what was achieved in India, and what now zeroing into how best we can, cut cost of governance, and is it achievable?
Like I said, why? Cutting cost of governance is achievable, but it is a question of, like we said, the nature and character of the leaders, and then what their priorities are, okay, as it were. Now, don't forget that it's not just a question of measures to cut cost of governance, or that whether there is a need for us to cut the cost of governance. Now, depending also on the kind of the cost we're talking about, right? Now, the last 10, 15 years, of our history in this country, it's been on record that over 70% of our national budget goes on recurrent expenditure, right? So the frivolities has always been there, but it's gone worse, no doubt about that, the last few years. Okay, but what is fundamental here, I want us to know, is that it is not a rocket science, okay, and it is not an impossible thing to do. But if you look at the circumstances, all right, you realize that that's why I said that nothing happens by chance, all right. So it's a matter of who is involved. If you look at the cost of politics over the years, for a governor, for someone to become a governor of a state in Nigeria today, you'll be spending not less than 150 billion to 200 billion, if not more, to become a governor for 4 years, and then much more than that to retain that office for another 4 years. The same, the level at governorship, gubernatorial level or governorship level, we can talk about such staggering amount of money. Now, so talk about what it will be like at the federal level, the presidential level. All right. Now, such investment, who invests that to serve a people for 4 years? What is the motive? What's the priority? Now, where does that money come from? Now, they've already started planning for 2027 election. This money, nobody goes into the tills and just collect cash. No, it must come through the budgetary process, the paddings and all of that. We know these things. So the focus, tragically, is not the priority of development, of accomplishing goals and results as it is, but it's so much about having to be able to recoup what you have spent or to accumulate in order to be able to come back or stay in power. And then much more than that, we are also in, like I said, if you remember the last time I was with you, I spoke about the dangers and the challenges of our own type of free market enterprise we are practicing based on spirit of liberalism. Now, there's a corrupting influence I see in that principle. First and foremost, it tends to cause leadership to lose focus. And apart from that, there is also the new quest for not just power, but economic power and money. Because there's now a shift towards individualism, okay, and individual fiefdoms, which is now giving birth to some kind of oligarchic system, especially for those who are able to grab political power. Now, so we see some kind of partnership between the political elite and the economic elite. And the idea again is you see a shift towards plunder of nations, state captures and all of that. Now, for you to achieve that, there is a need to accumulate resources, money. Because it's about economic power as the very basis of conquest, control, and domination of people and society. So it's much more than just saying, oh, government should cut costs. The underlying principles are what we must focus on. What we must focus on. So what's the whole idea of having to impoverish the nation and then acquire the funds for yourself? I mean, like I said, it's not a rocket science that you know that when you cut the cost of governance, it will immediately translate to enough funds saved to invest in public investment, public infrastructure, social investment, in education, health, agriculture, and the rest of them. And so what you're going to see is the stimulation of economic growth. Because where there is strategic government investment, you see the result. It will naturally translate not just to good governance, but to results in terms of development, infrastructural development, social development, technological development, and so on and so forth. All right, and then so you see economic growth. You see the currency of the country now appreciating in value, and then you see that translating to quality of life of the citizens. All right, and that also translates to having savings in terms of our national reserve, which also affects our trade balance, trade profile in terms of balance. Then also that also helps us in terms of good governance by way of ratings internationally that now boosts investors' confidence and attract investors to your country. So many things happen when we are prudent with resources. The resources should have wasted in entertainment, in refurbishing cars every year, or buying new cars every year, buying, building new houses, or refurbishing houses every year. Now you divert that to the productive sector, to manufacture, to social investment, to infrastructure, redevelopment. Then typically there will be progress, and that will reduce insecurity, that will reduce prices, that will reduce poverty, that will reduce unemployment. So it is a win-win thing. But when you have a leadership that is typically so distracted, or whose priority is not in this area, then you realize that we're done for. Because what we're dealing with here, cost of governance, my brother, is at the core of the survival of a nation. It's a question of whether we survive or we die as a people. That's the truth. When you have a leadership or government that is not focused on development, but on spending, especially at a time when the economy is in chaos or in crisis. Yesterday I went out, or day before yesterday I went out to buy fruit from this woman that I used to buy fruit from. And you could see that as they brought their things from morning, that is how it was till evening, he said they couldn't sell. The prices are high, there's no incomes are low, so people are not buying. And they are there. Night was coming. The last 3 weeks again I was there. And when I looked at their faces, you could see the gloom. And I said, what's wrong? They said they've not eaten.
Welcome back. What did you please say for that quick break? We had to go to sort some quick, technical hitch. I will let you know Benalika, who is the President CEO of a Global Leadership Commission, still joining us via Zoom. All right, as we wrap up the conversation, what would be the solutions to these issues you've raised this morning, key of them being the type of leaders that will give the opportunity to lead the country? And do the citizens really have much choice as to the leaders that emerge, knowing fully well that there's been a lot of issues as regards the processes that produce these leaders?
Well, that is the real issue. In terms of solutions, I don't see any immediate solution. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, fantastic. All right, good. Now, first, let me say this clearly. I want to be very sincere about this. There is no immediate solution. There is no immediate solution because, like I said, it boils down to the personality of those who are governing, all right, and what their focus is. Now, the important thing for us to realize is this as a nation. Things must always run its course. There is always this principle of seed time and harvest. So what we are experiencing is the harvest of our decision. All right. Now, over the years, Nigerians have had this predisposition or tendency towards now the decision of Nigerians. All right. Okay. To say, you know what, we have made mistakes. This time around, our consideration for choosing leaders must be totally and radically different. Okay. So now that is the choice of the Nigerian people. But more fundamentally, is that we are a nation that requires total overhauling. The foundations are fundamentally wrong, and that is what we're saying. This is a nation that is so divided, okay, against itself, and constituted on the basis of individual interest, group interest, tribal interest, religious interest. So far, what defines nationhood, critical factors of nationhood, have not been put in place. And that is why Nigeria is a nation waiting to be born. So what we need right now is moral re-evolution, spiritual re-evolution, social re-evolution, that will create that organic basis of our shared sense of destiny, meaning and purpose. That is one aspect. Second aspect is that there must be a considerable, project of citizens' enlightenment. What we have here is darkness. I can tell you that. Darkness in the sense of ignorance as to what defines nation and leadership. All right, the existential purpose of nationhood. The average Nigerian doesn't have it. Now, other part of it is that we do not have true citizens who are ready to subordinate their interest to the interest of the nation. Okay, and until you have that kind of citizens, it is almost going to be impossible, to be able to choose leaders who will lead us, aright. And then also the state capture, that we have seen, through democratic process the last few years. Okay, now if you consider what happened in Ghana, this last election, just look at what happened. Those guys proved to the world that they were in charge, that power resides with the citizens. They were unanimous, they were united, in their decision to change their government. They were not driven by the kind of primordial and primitive, instinctive approach to issues, especially politics, as we do in Nigeria here. All right. So those are the kind of things we must begin to focus on, because the fundamentals are wrong. And so if the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? The only thing the righteous can do is to build a new nation. Now, right now, we must recognize that the nation requires total and general overhauling. We need a new nation, and that is what we must begin to focus on. The institutions, like we said some time ago, is that the institutions are no longer even responsive, to those requisites that will promote leadership of good governance, or result-oriented, governance in this country as it is right now. The institutions have been so distracted, and even the public officials themselves, like I keep saying, seem to be losing trust and faith in the nation itself. Most of them do not believe in Nigeria. All right. So we need general overhauling, and then the citizens themselves. Nigerians need total and complete, reconstruction, redefining our own architecture in terms of our thinking, our perspectives, and our orientation. Nigerians need to be re-civilized. I tell you the truth, because our thinking, our aspirations are so low to produce the kind of nation that we desire, and that is where the journey has to start. And again, we pray, as we always do, that God will give, especially those who genuinely desire change, the requisite courage, and character, to become more relentless, and strategic in their thinking and in their approach to seeking for change and to seeking for transformation of the country. So that is for me the suggestions I will make within the time frame that we have. Thank you so much.
All right, I'm just wanted to ask you, these agents of change, which you're one of them, and several groups and bodies and individuals who want a new Nigeria, versus those who have been neck deep in these old ways of life and doing things. How do you think you can win this battle? against the old guard and changing this narrative. Do you think it's going to be an easy ride? Especially, we talked about this leadership and leaders that emerged. One of my key worries is that the system does not allow the good leaders to emerge.
See, the truth about this is this. There's always this saying I have that if you want to confront established powers, you must change the rules. You see, David came against Goliath. Okay? I mean, we know that biblical story. Now, 40 days, 40 nights, Goliath challenged the army of Israel, including the king, the Saul. And those guys could not rise up to him until a young man came, David. And then David changed the rules of the game that Goliath has set. There are rules of games. The established powers understood this, and they understand that. They have set the template of running politics, okay? And that is the mistake, for instance, the obedient movement, I believe they made. Because when they were saying, hey, you don't have the structure, they didn't understand what was being said. That there are people who control territories. I mean, yesterday, I took a walk around my area. I won't call the area. But when I walked around and I saw buildings, boy, you know that there are established powers and that will never allow the alteration of the status quo. So the only way we're going to do that is that you must study, master the establishment, all right? Understand how it works, okay? And then you now look at their point of vulnerability. That's one. Secondly, you must come up with a superior strategy, not just strategy, vision and purpose that will focus on the citizens. Because what is the population of these people we're talking about, right? So mobilize the people, all right? Also, it's not also a question of we versus them, really, because at the end of the day, you know, with the nation is in chaos. Right. I mean, okay, so it's going to affect everyone. So our ability to engage everyone's consciousness, mindset, and intelligence to see, look, this is not sustainable, but more importantly, focus on the people. All right. And re-engage. Yeah, because if the...
All right, thank you very much for the want of time and also the issues at hand. I want to say a big thank you to Ben Anike. It was a pleasure having him join in the national discourse in terms of leadership question. Thank you very much, and that's how much our time is going to allow us to take, and hopefully in the coming days we'll explore on this talking point. He is the CEO of Global Leadership Commission, and he's doing great things for Nigeria and the African continent, and also on the global surface. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll go for a very quick break. When we return from the break, we'll be hitting the next discourse, and I'll be introducing my guest who is in the live studios to help us look at another national issue of discourse. Please stay with us. Welcome back from the break to Watch Africa's finest breakfast show, Global Morning, and we're hitting our last discourse as we reach home run. We're looking at the 2025 budget, we're looking at the socio-economic targets and the focus as we head towards 2025. And I know better person, but the Regional Director Africa Quorum Group is an international investment bank who is joining us in the live studios. Issa Ali Shatta joining us to help us look at with great hope for 2025. Good morning. Thank you for joining us in the live studios.
Good morning.
All right. I know you've been out getting lots of in-house and every other form of training and making all the great strides. First of all, I want to say congratulations.
Thank you
on the new role. Let's look at Quorum Group. We know how big they are. International investment banking, and from the eye of the Quorum Group, looking at the Nigeria's 2025 budgets, what would you say is the socio-economic target and focus? Is it well directed and is it realistic?
Yeah, well, for us at Quorum Group, as an investment bank, we focus on SaaS. SaaS is software as a solution companies, and we operate in different verticals, whether fintech, regtech, agri-tech, health tech, edu-tech, everything technology. And I think that is what is really changing the entire global stage today across the different continents. There are a lot of deals that have actually happened this year and they will still happen next year. Artificial intelligence is driving a lot, right? And machine learning as well is driving a lot in that sector. And I can guarantee you that there's going to be much more deal to be done. But I hope and I believe that, with the Ministry of Digital Economy, right, Communication and Digital Economy, you'll be able to, restructure, probably with NITDA and SEC, collaborate effectively to ensure that we have a lot of startup in this SaaS, industry that can thrive and at least have a significant impact in terms of revenue before we can look at them and say, okay, yeah, they are ready for the M&A industry, which is the merger and acquisition industry. But at Quorum, which is a 38 years company, with headquarters in the US, we've done significantly, over the years. We've done a lot of deals, and we've helped a lot of companies, to sell out, and we've guided them with our, optimal outcome process, as the case may be, but bringing it down home, to our budget. If I'm looking at the Nigerian budget, from a company point of view, and you are thinking that you want to attract investors, right? I don't think it will be attractive for you, to bring in investor. You're looking at the budget, today.
Well, it's not massive enough of what's lacking in the budget.
So I will ask you a question. Do you want to invest in a company that is, concurrently making loss? Because we've been operating a budget of deficit, over the past 4 years.
And we're told 13 trillion will be financed via borrowing for the 2025 budget.
Exactly. So now, if you do the math, from 2021, I think our budget was around 13 trillion. 2022, it was 17 trillion. 2023, it was 21 trillion. And understand that we want to use 15 trillion, to service our debt. Right? Now, you now ask yourself, what economic sense does it make if I'm using a rupee 15 trillion to service my debt, and at the same time, I am having a deficit in this current budget, and I have 13 trillion. So if you look at it, it's like robbing Peter to pay Paul, because at the end of the day, right, I'm servicing. So in hindsight, right, it's as if I'm just paying back 2 trillion. Yeah, look at the math.
When you separated it from...
Yeah, because if I'm borrowing 15 trillion, I'm paying back 13. And if I'm borrowing 13 trillion, I'm paying back 15 trillion.
So you just have 2 trillion.
So ask yourself that question. What are you doing? Really? So I think the managers of our economy need to really sit. It's not rocket science, We have professionals who can, bring out budget, who can at least, drill out the budget and break it down into trickles. As far as I'm concerned, every sector is supposed to have what I call KPI. Now,
there's the key performance index.
Now, today, it's only in Nigeria that I feel we go into another budget without necessarily perusing what happened in the previous budget. Because the previous budget is divided into different verticals. You have security, you have education, you have health, you have agriculture, right? You have, other industries, right, that comes. But you now look at it and juxtapose to say, in this particular sector, we've invested X amount in this sector. What are the gains? What are those outcomes? What are those, wins that we have had? Can we pinpoint it with amount spent? That's now brings out to all the economic indices, inflation, interest rate, and all the rest. Then, of course, the depreciation of our currency. So if you look at it, I know that there might be an argument to say, okay, the reason why we have this exponential increase in the 2025 budget is because of the currency devaluation, which is really massive. So we want to say at the time we are having the reigning of 13, 17, 21, and 23 trillion in the previous years, that Naira was pegged at say 410, right? And now Naira is pegged at 1,500. So you want to look at all of this and begin to ask questions as to what are the handlers of the economy doing? The Ministry of Budget and Planning, the Ministry of Finance, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Debt Management Office. Yep. There has to be a collaborative effort to look at how holistically we can be projecting our budget moving forward. I will come to how we can have solutions in terms of financing our budget without borrowing. I will come there because really it is not rocket science. Yeah.
So you did mention of the fact that it's not rocket science, meaning everywhere studied or someone who is in that sector is something you should know. Can we look at the personnel handling the Nigerian economic sector? A lot of people have said we cannot so era seem to be faulted with a lot of somersault in policies and policies that seem not to be well thought out, plan before it's implemented. Do you think that's one of our Achilles heels, the fact that we do not have the right people manning our economic sector?
Yeah, I think at the central bank, there's a lot of shake-up that has happened. And I think it's all over the news. We had a lot of people who were sacked.
About 1,000 plus.
Yeah, before then, we had a lot of people who were sacked, from the senior cadre director, assistant directors, to junior levels, right? And it was a big tsunami that happened at central bank. Now, we had what you call also the early exit, where at least about 1,000 people were also showing up. But I want to ask the question, really, are these people really the problem of Central Bank of Nigeria, right? Or we really need to just, rejig the system and see how we can build in more economic monetary policies, that can help guide the economy. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think that was the solution. Yeah, if they were overpopulated in terms of,
so probably they're cutting the cost of...
if you are talking about cutting costs, right, I feel there's a science to handle all of these things. You need to at least set up a panel to look at all of these, end to end, to come up with at least a realistic solution that is mutually beneficial.
Sure.
Yeah, the last end of what they did was a bit mutually beneficial because a lot of people were not laid off, right? And people, out of their own consent, agreed to exit, but out of fear, So, and that can also have its ripple effect because even those inside are going to be working in perpetual fear. And that might slow down the monetary side of things because economically it's going to have impact. What is going to be that true output work? When psychologically you are not, focused on what you're supposed to do because you are fighting hard to keep your job because you don't know if... Now, for those who have exited, how are you going to, bridge the gap of that legacy? Because there's a legacy crisis that will happen. How do we bridge the legacy?
What do you mean when you say legacy crisis there?
Yeah, because one, these guys have wealth of experiences.
True.
The directors left, they never handed over to any directors. As I'm talking to you right now, no substantial directors have been appointed. This is over 6, 7, 8 months down the line. And we're talking about the critical sector of our economy, the Central Bank of Nigeria, right? And you don't have the right people to drive that, part of the economy. That can have its own ripple effect. So I feel that something has to be done quickly, and the current management of the central bank need to really, fill up those spaces and give people confidence again, especially those who are currently in this system, to be able to at least focus on the job at hand moving into 2025.
Okay, how key is it that, like you rightly pointed out, the outgoing 2024 budget, for us to see if it was well implemented, have we run the course completely before looking ahead to 2025, and were the goals achieved for 2024? How key is it for us to move on to the next budget?
Well, I feel, is it Sadia? Or I think there's one of the special advisors on public policies to the president. Who is charged with looking at the key performance all the ministers, which actually led to some ministers exiting. I don't think whether all of those ministers, but anybody really came out with the card as regards the I'm sure she presented it to the president. I feel that by now we need to have another evaluation of what has actually happened across the different ministries to be able to know correctly if the true input to our budget has actually reflected to greater outcome, right? And that should have been done by now, so that moving into 2025, there has to be a refocus on how to move the economy forward by putting people on their toes to know that, look, it's no longer business as usual like we were told, but let Nigerians see that reflect in the true output of what has happened in the economy. If you take sector by sector, what has happened in the agricultural sector? Yes, I know that we are hit by natural disaster, flood, right? Insecurity significantly. I would say the government had tried to a reasonable extent to curtail insecurity, right? That boldness that they used to have operating previously had actually diminished, right? So I want to think that we need to give the government at least accolade in that aspect, and probably maybe that was also what informed the increase in defense and security budget, the allocation we have, and which I feel in 2025 budget, which I feel we should also be able to pinpoint it to a more significant progress based on what we have achieved in 2024. Because if that happens, now agriculture will also kick off. People can go back to farm. Economic activities can begin to drive. People can move from one point to another. And all of that. Just yesterday, there was also another significant journey in the security aspect where Nigeria, partnered with the US, to actually control the kidnapping incidences that we have in Nigeria, but now deploying more forensic approach. Right? Let us hope that also trickle down to a major impact. Now, in the health sector, I wasn't too happy that health sector didn't get much more allocation for 2025 because it's a very critical sector. Right, a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. Sure. Right. So I feel that we need to prioritize our health care delivery system. Right, and at the same time, look at the amount of funds that we use in going for health tourism. If we can repackage the health sector, it's a sector that can actually give us significant increase in terms of revenue. Right, and I think that the government should look inward in doing that and that's the reason why I've been saying that for every sector, we should treat every sector like a company. Okay, Minister of Health, we are giving you X amount in trillions, in the health sector. Now, in the health sector alone, we want to be able to generate X amount of money, right? Even break even, maybe even generate the same money that we are put in back, right? In the health sector, I mean, it's realistic, it's done. Because even in the public healthcare delivery system, people still pay. Right, you have in and out patients, so we should be able to at least track all of those, digitize it, and it's not rocket science. Anthony, now goes back to the sensitive part, the tax. Now there's a tax reform that is coming in. Nigerians are not averse to paying tax, but Nigerians want to see the social and economic benefits that comes with paying tax. Now, if you are increasing tax collection, I believe in 2025. We want to collect at least 38 trillion. We projected 30 trillion, but we were able to achieve 75% of that in 2024, right? But I want to see that we plug all of the loopholes according to what the tax experts have said that are working with Mr. President. And what can we bring in from tax? How are we allocating it into the different sectors? Now to how we can fund the budget without borrowing. Like I said, it's not rocket science. We have numerous mineral resources in Nigeria, Anthony. Is it gold? Is it diamond? Is it uranium? Is it lithium? I mean, I can go on. I want to put the oil aside. Then we now come to even the critical sector, agricultural sector. Now, I can bring in a lot of chocolate industries and say, look, I don't want to export cocoa. I want you to come and site your chocolate industries. The raw materials are here. Then you can. So there's a whole lot of economic benefits that comes with that, because you are now recruiting my citizens in your company, right? The money is going around as opposed to me converting that money in forex and sending it out to import this product into the country, but we have those value chain end to end happening in Nigeria. That is economic advancement, right? Then I can tell you that as you are doing this, I'm giving you access to these raw materials. I want to be able to project, since I know that I'm going to be here for next 4 years or 3 years as the president, I want to be able to project my budget for the next 4 years. And I want my economic think tank to tell me that in the next 4 years, we can do a projection to say, this is the amount I'm going to need for budgeting. I have that money today and begin to service my budget without borrowing. I can bring in a lot of investors in the mineral resources, in the steel, come and situate your companies here. Privatize it the way you have also privatized the oil sector, right? The way you have regulated the oil sector. Do the same thing across board for all of these sectors. Make these people pay the billions in dollars. Get this money into the economy and begin to utilize this money, for the growth of the economy. We don't really need to borrow to actually finance the budget. Then again, it now goes to discipline. How do we really spend these funds, Anthony? Are there places where you can cut? Let's say, for instance, we don't have access to borrowing. Do you want to tell me that we are not going to be prudent enough to be able to control how we spend our budget and control each and every different verticals of the economy and ensure that we don't overspend, and because there is scarcity of fund, we are able to checkmate the activities of the different ministries, of different parastatals, to ensure that these monies that we are releasing are diligently distributed.
Okay, we talk about key issues about bringing investors, for instance, using the chocolate, the cocoa as an example. With Nigeria suffering as much as 12 national grid collapse in a year only, do you think how key is this power sector for all of this to drive home our projections, especially our socio-economic projections? The power sector, how key is it for government to achieve this? And why do you think the government is not looking outside the box, outside the fact of borrowing, rather than looking like the strategy you just, named?
Yeah, thank you very much. Borrowing can come from different perspectives.
Okay.
We have some funds that, of course, are sitting in the pension funds, which, of course, the government can have access to, right? But all of this has to be worked out correctly. You mentioned a very critical sector, which is the power sector. The power sector and the energy sector, these two sectors are the sectors that boost every economy and propel the economy to greater heights, right? Because if you have a stable electricity, there are chances that there will be a lot of industries that will thrive. Researches are going to be made. Technology is also going to be layered on top of that, and all of these can connect to create a lot of economic impact, right? So for the power sector, I actually didn't see much also being given to the power sector, which is for me very disheartening. Because as you're giving to security, I'm thinking that the power sector should always be having almost the same amount, with the security and defense, sector.
Could it be because the government does not feel the real impact of the power sector? Because one, they've got the generators running all 24 hours, so they seem to always forget that the power sector is a big miss.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so, but I wouldn't think that the government of the day wouldn't know that if we have stable electricity, there's going to be a lot of economic activities that can happen. Manufacturers will be very happy, right? And small, medium scale enterprises are also going to thrive, and it's going to also cut the cost of production, right? And the true output, will be there at the end of the day. I don't want to think that the government are not aware. I feel that the power sector administration has been a mirage. I call it a mirage because hardly have we ever passed through any previous administration without necessarily pinpointing a huge and humongous money being spent in that sector, and we don't really see the reflection. And you see, there is no cause and effect. When I know that there is cause and effect, there are consequences when things don't really go appropriately, or when I have misappropriated funds, right? And we don't begin to put some sentimental and nepotic correlation to it to say, you see, this person is from the west, the person is being haunted, this person is from the north. Let's call a spade a spade. I mean, you've been in the office, you are asked to be in the office to give us change, to create economic impact. You were prepared, to move into that industry or that ministry to give us those changes. But unfortunately, there is massive corruption that happened within that. So somebody needs to be answering, and I'm a bit also concerned because this might not be the total budget. By the time it comes out from the National Assembly, I don't want to predict, but maybe you might quote me, we might have a budget that is as high as maybe another 2 trillion or 1.7 or 1.8 trillion.
More than
people call it padding. Well, for me, I don't know what to call it, right? But what I just feel is that there's a miracle that happens when that budget goes to National Assembly and when it comes out, right? I'm thinking that the National Assembly is supposed to be like an arm of government that's supposed to checkmate the activities of the executive and peruse all of those figures to say, okay, rather than pad it or rather than increase it, let me use a positive word, rather than increase the budget, to say, okay, yes, we know you are giving this amount of money to defense and security. Is there a way we can cut from that and put to health, so that health can have something significant, and education too, as well, and power, as well, and agriculture. Is there a way we can somehow evenly distribute these resources so that we can get more economic benefit, that comes from it? So this is what I feel the National Assembly should be doing. Even possibly saying, look, we feel this money is too much. Is there a way we can reduce, 5 trillion or 6 trillion from it? Yes, we can cut here and there. And it goes again to what I call project management. If you have a good project management office that is saddled with the responsibility of, which I feel is what they've asked the special advisor on public policy to do, but I don't really think it is effective, or it's as effective as we should have it, because a true project management office looks at all of these figures and identify key areas where they are supposed to intervene in and put in effort to ensure that there is monitoring and evaluation, there is feedback mechanism that is back to the president. The president is busy, for crying out loud. That's why all these people are there in the first place. And I feel that these are the people that we are supposed to also be asking questions and say, what exactly have you been doing to support the president in terms of changing the entire narrative? Let us at least for once feel that genuineness. Because I won't lie to you, Nigerians are no longer excited with the huge numbers that we read out, or on paper, when we are talking about budgeting. Because for Nigerians, they just tell you that it's business as usual. That a few people are just celebrating because a lot of projects will come to them. So Nigerians don't really care, moving forward, and that is not a good feeling to have. Right, and it's very, very concerning, for me, if we are having that kind of, thought process. So there's a lot that needs to be done, to really encourage the Nigerian populace and boost the confidence of the ordinary man on the street to see that we can better the lot of, these people at the last mile.
All right, just because of the fact that we're looking at the socio-economic point of our budget, and power, like you rightly pointed out, is very key. Ahmed Lawan, the Ninth Assembly Senate did say that the power sector was a hoax, meaning it was all fraudulent. Do you think there's been sincere move by the government to investigate and turn things around? Because we also did hear the federal government sign an MOU with Siemens of Germany, yet we're still having these issues of incessant national grid collapse. And just a few days ago, we had Nigeria and Germany also still having more collaboration to steady our power. But things are never turning right. Could the Ahmad Lawan be very right that the whole power sector is in a mess?
You see, Ahmed Lawan is not, far from the truth. Like I told you, Nigerians are aware, and like I've said it here, I told you that the power sector is like a mirage. You know what a mirage is. As much as it seems that we are getting closer, it gets further, and we are just playing catch up, which is really, saddening. For me, I feel and I believe that the current president will do it. Can the current president appoint a reputable international consultant to help us peruse and look at the sector?
I thought we had Batinaji, who was globally, acclaimed to be.
Yes, Batinaji. Kudos to.
Why was he removed in a very dramatic?
He wasn't removed. He resigned.
Well, he said there were issues that made him.
Resign because it's a man of conscience, right? He's a man of integrity, and he said he doesn't want to get his hands stained or dirty, and he honorably resigned. And it will interest you to know that Batinaji has taken a huge power project to Abia State, where they want to turn around the industry hub of Abia in conjunction with the Director General of World Trade Organization, right? There was a strategic partnership that happened there. And I feel that those are the kind of people we should be going back to draw from their experiences, so that someone who has that kind of integrity, who doesn't want his hand to be stained, who has seen a lot in the system, the president can bring such person closer and ask for valuable advice for him to be able to guide the government of the day.
Right.
And that's why I said that we can actually appoint a team of consultants, a reputable team of consultants to look at that ministry and tell us exactly how we can actually remove that mirage. There's a word I'm looking for, to really ascribe to it, to look for that masquerade that nobody can see, to help us unravel, the mystery around that masquerade for Nigeria to be able to move forward. Because I still say that it is not rocket science for Nigeria to be great. We have great personalities. We have great people in Nigeria that can turn things around. We are very smart, intelligent people, right, who have had different experiences across different industries. Those people are not in holes. They are not hiding inside holes. They are out there. They are making it. We can bring these guys together to come and help Nigeria to progress.
All right, let's wrap up our discussion on the final note, talking about key players aside the state actors, the government industries and all that. For organizations like yours, who are international investors, how key is their role in ensuring that the 2025 budget meets its socio-economic targets and focus?
Yeah, you see, for us, like I said in the beginning, we are just technology focused. And how key is Nigeria
for Nigeria?
Yeah, Nigeria today has a lot of startups in the tech ecosystem. Call it edutech, insurtech, health tech, fintech. Just this year, Moneypoint closed about $110 million, right, in fundraising. And that tells you that there's a lot of economic viability in the human economy, in the tech, in the fintech ecosystem. Last year we did about 611 trillion in electronic transaction, right? And this year we probably might hit a quadrillion. Because as at half of this year we have done 600 trillion in electronic transaction. Wow. And if you compare it year on year,
it's massive.
Yeah, if you compare it to year on year, last year we did about 303 trillion, exactly half year of 2023. And that tells you that we have done significantly well, more than almost 87% increase, in electronic transaction. That tells you that there's something very, very critical happening in the Nigerian economy. So if we can aggregate and integrate the tech ecosystem, I can guarantee you that there are a lot of things we can do. There are a lot of deals that can come out from companies who have positioned themselves very well to have revenue generators. So you can imagine that Nigeria as a whole is providing platform for this kind of economic activities to happen. Yet, the government is unable to tap from this same,
Is it out of ignorance or deliberate or...
I would say it's a willpower to do it. It is the passion.
Is it because they can't see the benefit?
You see, we used to have what we call selflessness, right? Not selfish interest.
So patriotism.
Yeah, patriotism is no longer there. So if we can retweak and rejig that, giving back to your own country, what the country has given to you, right? If we can have that love, that passion, but how do you have love and passion for your country when your country is not reflecting same? Because it's a symbiotic relationship, right? So I feel that there are a lot of economic activities that will happen moving into 2025, but artificial intelligence is going to drive a lot, most especially in all of the sectors that we play in today, because big data is very important. And yes, I believe that the current government are trying to see how they can harness, the data that we have to be able to project it into a positive outcome. And I believe that with that, we should be able to do a lot. In Africa, there's a whole lot that is also currently happening, and I think Nigeria is taking the center stage. So I am taking a more critical look at Nigeria, even though yes, I'm overseeing Africa. But I would like to see more activities happening in Nigeria, help all of those little tech ecosystem businesses to thrive. I'm coming from that constituency, so I know what the problem is. So for us to have at least a bit of gain in the economy, technology has to be the key driver of all of these ecosystems.
All right, it's been amazing talking to Issa Ali Shatta, who is the Regional Director Africa Quorum Group, and we've been looking at Nigeria's 2025 budget, looking at the socio-economic targets and focus, and a lot has been said. We hope that 2025 is going to be an exciting year for Nigerians. So I want to say thank you for joining us in the studio.
It's always a pleasure.
And congratulations one more time for the new role. We hope, like you said, like Additional has done for Nigeria, we will also be counting on you to help us drive our economic recovery. All right, we'll be going for a quick break. When we return from the break, we'll be wrapping up Africa's Finest Breakfast Show. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's now that time where we say our goodbyes. I want to say a big thank you to Ben Alika, the Global President of the Global Commission Leadership, the Leadership Commission, for joining us and helping us talk about cutting cost of governance, the measures to be taken, and the benefits. He joined us via Zoom. Thank you, Ben Alika. Always a pleasure talking to you. And of course, the man who just exited the live studios is not a person but Issa Ali Shatta, who is the Regional Director of Quorum International and International Investment Bank, joining us in the studio to touchlight, like we say in Nigeria, the 2025 budget and looking at the socio-economic target and what the focus would be for 2025. And the partner in progress, who has been with me from the start, is back and looking as usual.
Looking at you.
I want you to complete the rest.
All right, thank you. Also, looking serious as usual.
It doesn't fit the bill.
It doesn't fit the bill.
Standing nicer.
Thank you, Anthony. All right, with that, we have to wrap it up on the program, Global Morning. Thank you all so much for being a part of the program with us. Hope you were well informed when it comes to issues making round, of course, the budget and all of that, especially when we delved into the newspaper review, first, second discuss of the day. And with that, we have to say a big bye-bye, but keep watching Global Television. I am Jemai Manson, and my co-host who flatters me all the time.
All the time. I know the good thing is that they can't see you, so they know I'm not flattering. They know I'm saying the truth. Thank you very much for joining us on the Africa's Finest Breakfast Show. We urge you to always be part of us. We have a lot of goodies for you to make your Friday and weekend truly amazing. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies to, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22